you're most known for the creative training techniques, and right now we're facing the worst economic downturn in years. And many companies are looking forward to maybe cutting their learning and development budget. How would you address this concern? How do you think attending, for example, a CTT program could actually impact a company's bottom line?
Well, first of all, today we live in the information age.
Sure.
I mean, today the learning is never going to stop. Last year in the United States, over 300,000 books were published in English. So I don't care how many books you read, you're really getting behind. And so part of it is that in these turbulent times, we still need to do training, but we have to be smarter about how we do it. So creative training techniques is really about faster, better, easier, and greater on-the-job transfer. It is about making sure that every piece of training you do is an investment. So for example, people have existing training that what they've got to do. Let's take a couple of industries as an example. Almost every restaurant has to have somebody certified in food safety training. And typically in the restaurant industry, not even just fast food, but restaurants in general, you've got somewhere around 40 or 50 or 60% turnover every single year. Whether you like it or not, you have to train those people. If you have a call center, you're going to have 40, 50, 60 turnover a year. Bank tellers, 40, 50, 60, 70% turnover per year. Well, there are areas where you have to train. Why? Because you're constantly turning people over. So there are a couple of things you could look at. Number one is, are there things that we could do to hire smarter? So, for example, one bank that we worked with, over an 18-month period of time, using all of our strategies, not just training, but all of our strategies, we were able to cut turnover among tellers from 65% to 30%. Now, there's a company that has a $1.2 million annual savings every year because they're hiring smarter. And we took the 5-week teller training program that people had to go through. We reduced the 5 weeks to 3. So, same skill level, but doing it in 40% less time. All of those things are things that the bank continues to have to do, the restaurant continues to have to do, call centers continue to have to do. But we can show them how to do it faster, better, easier, and with probably 30, 40, 50% better on-the-job transfer, which again gets back to the idea that the whole focus is, do we help you get results?
All right. So you shorten it by teaching them creative training techniques? Is that?
Yes, absolutely.
Redesigning the programs using
it's a redesign using the techniques and strategies which we have. And the interesting thing is that a lot of times people go, well, we don't have time. We don't have time to let people get involved. And my point would be, just because you've said it doesn't mean that you've learned it. And there's a big difference that I think we need to really emphasize between training and education. Now, I'm not saying that this should be a difference. I'm just saying that it's a difference right now. And that's that in education, our focus mostly is on learning in order to pass. I've taught graduate courses at 3 universities. I've never been required to have anybody learn anything. My job is to teach the course. Your job is to pass the test. If you do not pass the test, it is not my fault. I can prove from my lesson plans that I have covered the content. However, in training, it's about learning for living. It is less about what you know at the end of the course, and it's more about when you go back on the job. Can you perform? Can you apply the knowledge? Can you use the skills? So training is really about learning for living, whereas in education a lot of times it's learning simply to pass. And I think that's another big difference that we have to communicate, because I think that a lot of times people come into a training program with a certain level of fear, and when it's really a training program is about, what am I doing to empower you? What am I doing to equip you so that you can be even more successful on your job? And I think that that's another thing that we need to emphasize. And frankly, we need to shift education as well. I think that education more and more, and we see this a lot in the United States, that education is realizing that we had better equip people, because now a lot of corporations actually feel like they need to retrain people when they leave education before they can even put them on the job, because they don't have the needed job skills to succeed. They they weren't taught how to succeed in the real world.
Okay.